All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're tearing into a really cold foundational premise from Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art. And look, this book basically begins with an insult to our usual ways of working. It's not a loud insult, not a cruel one, really, just a clean, sharp observation. Pressfield says that the ultimate enemy of our creative work, our deep work, is not a lack of time, it's not a lack of talent, it's an active, living force called resistance. You see, we absolutely love to comfort ourselves with the idea of a vague, general struggle. But this book completely steals that comfort. It gives that fog teeth. It reframes our entire creative battle, and I'm really thrilled to walk you through exactly how this works. You know this visceral reality, right? We all face it. You sit down, you open the file, and instantly your chest tightens. The work literally becomes a locked jaw. The cursor blinks there like a metronome, literally judging you in real time. And then your expert inner voice arrives. It sounds so incredibly calm. It just says, not yet. It tells you the idea needs a bit more respect. It says a better, more rested version of you should probably handle this tomorrow. So we try to bargain with that blinking cursor using a false belief. We ask ourselves, well, what if I just need more discipline? What if I just need a sterner calendar or, slightly better preparation? We totally mask our avoidance as this mature, responsible need for better habits. We convince ourselves that our problem is just that we're lazy or that we lack a proper plan. But Pressfield completely dismantles the comfort hiding beneath that belief. Because here's the reality slap. Your delay, it is not a mood. It's not a lack of discipline. It's actually a highly loyal threat defense mechanism. That expert voice telling you not yet is resistance. And the craziest part is, it's wearing your own voice to protect your old self from exposure. It protects you from the very real cost of becoming visible. You aren't lacking desire. Your work is just being actively blocked by a protective force that absolutely hates the idea of you stepping into the unknown. Section 1. The intelligent excuse. Resistance gets louder near meaning. The crucial rule of resistance to understand is that it's highly selective. It does not waste its energy on trivia. It gets louder and louder as you get closer to meaning. It attacks the call. It attacks the blank page, and it absolutely attacks the very first honest move you try to make. Pressfield outlines these specific costumes of delay. You decide to write, but suddenly you need more research. You decide to build, but, you definitely need a new tool first. You decide to change, but you need a flawless plan. You decide to publish, but wait, you need one more credential. Every single one of these needs sounds incredibly adult. They sound responsible. But really, they're just self-sabotage, borrowing your own intelligence to prevent you from crossing the line into action. Your intelligence literally becomes legal counsel for your fear. Let's just slow down for a second and really absorb this truth. Resistance is invisible. Resistance is internal. The enemy isn't your boss. It's not your busy schedule, and it's certainly not the market. It's inside. And because it's internal, it knows your exact weak door. Look, a stupid excuse would be so easy for you to beat, right? But a clever excuse, it enters as your own trusted counsel. It cites timing, it mentions money, it brings up your family responsibilities. It doesn't even need to lie to you. It just needs to strategically arrange the truth against your action. And this brings us to a crucial point. The smarter the excuse sounds, the more carefully it must be searched. I want you to strip your absolute favorite excuse right now of its incredibly reasonable disguise. Notice the most logical excuse you have going on in your head. Don't argue with it, but name its actual job. Its true job is protecting you from being seen. Once you realize it's literally just postponement posing as craft, the voice loses all its power. Moving into Section 2, Amateur versus Professional. Reducing the vote. This is Pressfield's completely mechanical, unsentimental solution to overcoming that inner opposition. He doesn't offer you soft, motivational hype. He offers a cold, functional way to just reduce the vote of your fear. Think about these two operating models. The amateur waits to feel like the person. They think seriousness is a mood, constantly asking for emotional permission before they even start. The professional? The professional just acts and lets their identity catch up. The professional doesn't magically become fearless, by the way. They just reach over and remove fear's hands from the steering wheel. Fear can ride in the car, absolutely, but it is no longer allowed to drive. Think of an over-tight guitar string. If that string is too loose, right, there's absolutely no sound. If it's too tight, it just snaps. Resistance hides perfectly in both of those extremes. Laxness says, the work can wait. Perfectionism says, the work must wait until conditions are perfect. But it is the exact same prison. You're just looking at different wallpaper. We've got to separate true devotion to our craft from this sort of avoidance that we love to call having high standards. Real care actually makes contact. It touches the page, it gets messy, it starts badly. False care just makes conditions. It guards the fantasy of the work. It sorts files, it cleans the desk for the third time, and it tells you that your name shouldn't touch poor work. But in the end, nothing actually exists. The page is completely empty, even though your self-image remains perfectly safe.
Section 3. Weaponized standards. The standard became a bunker.
All right, this brings us to a really uncomfortable truth. We love to think our high standards are a strength, but so often it's actually ambition turned completely against the body. Our ambitious standards stop cutting the work, and they start cutting our permission to even begin. Pressfield lays out the distinction so clearly. The amateur is a weekend warrior. The professional shows up every day. If you weaponize your standards, the cost is absolutely brutal. You use your own intelligence to prosecute your own beginning. You might call it respect or preparation, but you just become a master of being almost ready, almost starting, almost known. And while you sit there polishing the sword and studying the maps, your absolute best work stays entirely imaginary. So here is the ultimate dilemma we all face at the desk. You basically have two choices. Start before ready means you are willing to be visible before you are polished. Wait until worthy means your inner judge keeps complete control. If you wait until you are worthy, you are surrendering, plain and simple, because the judge will always ask for just one more proof of your readiness, and it will never, ever name what that final proof actually is. We really need to reframe what intensity actually looks like. You might think intensity proves your devotion, like forcing this massive, loud, theatrical battle against yourself. But in reality, returning is way less dramatic. It is also far more violent to resistance. The professional proves their devotion by just quietly returning to the page. They give the enemy no ceremony, no grand theater, just a simple, unceremonious act of making contact again. Section 4. The first ugly minute. The up-go-wise practice. Now we shift into the final, actionable phase of this explainer. This is where we ground all of Pressfield's philosophy into a specific up-go-wise behavioral practice, because honestly, insight without action is just more entertainment. Let's resolve that physical sensation we talked about at the very beginning, that locked jaw, the tightened chest. That arousal was never proof that you were unfit or unready. It was proof the work mattered. Your body wasn't saying stop. Your body was saying threshold. You can read that physical dread as a compass pointing directly toward meaning. The signal you've been waiting for is actually hiding right inside the resistance itself. So the question completely changes. It's no longer, am I ready, or is this good enough? The question becomes beautifully blunt. What clean act can pass fear today? I challenge you to stop treating readiness like it's some kind of virtue. Start treating clumsy, dull, ugly contact as the absolute truth. A day with contact isn't always pretty or noble, but it absolutely breaks the spell of potential. Okay, here is the strict action plan to bypass all that identity debate and just starve your inner judge. We call it the 300-second practice. Step 1. Open the stalled project. Don't sit and think about it, just physically open the file. Step 2. Name one resistant sentence. Tell yourself exactly what excuse your brain is making up right now to protect you. Step 3. Write for 10 minutes before checking anything else. Just 10 minutes of pure forward motion. And as you do that, you have to adhere strictly to this rule. Write the ugliest first paragraph of the avoided piece. Absolutely no fixing. The first move must be so plain, so small, and so incredibly ugly that it survives your fear without triggering a defensive response. You see, drama and mystery feed resistance. A tiny, unedited, rough act completely starves it. It gives absolutely no stage to the judge, just a door, a hand, and the first sentence. Which brings us to our final thought from this book. Treat resistance as the signal. Without it, signature fades. The war of art doesn't remove your fear. It removes the comfortable fantasy that fear should govern you. Next time you feel that resistance bubbling up, recognize it for exactly what it is, the exact address of your most important work. To continue this internal transformation, you can head over to upgowiz.com, but before you do that, ask yourself this. If that tightening in your chest is actually a compass pointing toward what you were genuinely meant to do, what file are you going to open today?